Time is 12:35 p.m. and I'm calling the Business Committee meeting to order, Tuesday, December 10, 2019. And we're at the Student Activity Complex Fine Arts Building, room number 1. Begin with public comments. Any public comments for the Business Committee? All right. Items, 2 action items. Number 1, approval monthly disbursements.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vélez, Mr. Montemayor, we presented the disbursements for the month of November. I don't know if you have any questions on any of the transactions at this time.
I had a quick question, Mr. Flores. I was reviewing the numbers and I had seen on, had a deficit amount on, for bond payments, on several bond payments, different projects that we have.
Okay.
I know we have contingency accounts.
Right.
Are those monies that showed a deficit and that we were exceeded the amount that had been budgeted?
Without looking at this particular transaction, what's happening with the bond program is we're reviewing open purchase orders with all the staff.
Right.
We might have some POs that should have been closed because we've made a payment. There are other situations where maybe we miscoded a transaction because it gets very similar when you're building 9th grade campuses. Sometimes a building gets mixed up between the 2 9th grade campuses, or when you're building 2 elementaries, it can get mixed up. So we're working on cleaning that up. We've had a few meetings on closing out purchase orders and stuff. You should see that starting to clear up and starting to get into a more positive balance.
Okay.
I had a question on that. When they refinance everything, that money that comes back, does it go in the budget, or how does it go?
No, sir, the
on fund balance, or what?
Yeah, the refinancing, and we're going to have a presentation actually on the refinancing a little bit later.
I know they refinanced a few months ago, or
those-
about 6 months ago, 8 months
Yes.
ago.
Yes,
I was
sir.
wondering if it would go back in fund balance, or it would go.
Well, eventually, yes, the savings that are presented are pretty substantial. And those savings obviously will go back because we're not paying that payment anymore. We're paying a much smaller payment. But it does go back into fund balance. It won't go into these individual line items to show that there's more savings there.
Okay.
We actually removed that particular funding from the books, and we add in the new, like you're refinancing a vehicle. You take off that loan and you put on the new loan, and you're making payments budgeted for that new loan. Now, it's less budget, so you're going to save money in the, and we have a pretty healthy
That was my
fund balance.
question, because I hear every time, they're gonna refinance, they're gonna get a pretty good amount back, and, I was wondering where it would go, fund balance.
Yes, sir, and you
a
can see
budget,
it,
or-
you'll see it in our fund balance numbers for the debt service fund. A few years ago, it was probably hovering a little over 2.5 million. Now we're at 5 million, and this year we're gonna end at a little bit over $7 million. So you're starting to see all these refinancings and their savings that are impacting the overall fund balance in the debt service fund.
So basically, Sam, it's money that we don't have to pay up front.
Yes, sir.
That's where,
We have lower
going back to what
payments.
Mr. Olina is,
It has the effect of lowering the amount that we need to pay on
Pay
an
the
annual
loan back.
basis, and the savings that you see in there is over the term of the bond issue, over the life of
it's
the
a
bond.
small amount every year. Of course, obviously it accumulates at the end
And-
of all the payments.
And a good note, a good public note is it doesn't just give us the benefit. We can actually sometimes reduce the debt service tax rate by a penny because we no longer have that high of a payment. So the taxpayers actually get the savings as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Item 2, approval of independent audit report for the year ended in August 31st, 2019.
Yes, sir. We have the financial statements now for fiscal year 18-19 through August 31st of 2019. And we have Mr. Amado Sanchez, who's the audit manager, and Francisco Pesina, who's the audit supervisor, that will do the presentation there with the firm Cascos and Associates.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, members of the board,
Good afternoon.
superintendent, and everybody in the audience. First of all, from Cascos and Associates, we would like to thank the district for allowing us to be the CPA of your choice. We would also like to extend the same emotions to the business department and for working diligently and providing everything that we requested. First of all, I would like to say that the independent auditor's opinion for the fiscal school year ending August 31, 2019 is going to be an unmodified opinion. An unmodified opinion, as mentioned earlier, is a clean opinion, it's a good opinion, and that's the best opinion that you can receive. Now I'm going to introduce Mr. Francisco Pesina. He was the lead auditor in this engagement, and he's also our supervisor for the Coscos and Associates firm.
Good evening, members of the board. Can you please turn to page 10 of the financial statements I have on hand? This is the balance sheet. Basically, this here lists all your assets, your liabilities, and your fund balances. What I want to discuss about this page is the fund balance. Your fund balance is basically the district's security net in case the district stopped receiving revenues for any particular reason. That's how much the district has available to use to operate, basically. And the other item I want to talk about is the days of operations. Right now, the district has 52 days of operations. And the way we calculate that is by taking the daily operations and dividing it by the fund balance. I do want to emphasize that to calculate these days of operations, we only use the general unassigned fund balance. And we only use the unassigned balance because all the other amounts are restricted for other particular purposes. If you take, for example, debt service, you can see that on page 10 you have $7 million restricted for capital acquisition and contractor obligations. You cannot use those amounts for anything else other than what's already been committed for or restricted for. So if you can please turn to page 13 of the report. Like I said before, we're only looking at the general fund. So if we take the total expenditures for the general fund, in this case it's $424 million, and divided by 365 days, we get $1.1 million in expenditures. This basically means that the district spends $1.1 million every day that they open their doors. If we take that $1.1 million and divide it by the unassigned fund balance, which is back in page 10, in this case it's $60 million, the district gets the 52 days of operations. 52 days of operations is a good solid number. TA usually recommends 30 to 60 days. So the district is in a good standing as per the days of operations. The other item I want to talk about is going to be on page 20, which is the budget to actual for the general fund. This year, the district budgeted $446 million, which is going to be the final column. And if you go to the total expenditures at the bottom, $446 million. Then the next column is the actual expenditures, which were $424 million. The district has a positive variance of $21 million this year. So I would like to congratulate the district for looking over their expenditures and saving money for the general fund. Other than that, we looked at the internal controls, we looked at the federal grants, and we didn't find anything that was needed to be mentioned to the board members or to the business department.
Okay.
The final thing I want to mention is that the district and especially the business department is committed to writing the entire report by themselves. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because not a lot of the school districts do that. A lot of the school districts requires our assistance in writing the report, but United ISD, they write the entire report yourselves. So that's something that we want to mention that's something remarkable for the entire business department. And that is the reason why we're able to bring this report pretty much a month in advance. So we just wanted to say that, and again, thanks for the entire school district for allowing us to do your audit.
Thank you. Thank you for your work, and I want to congratulate the business department for an exceptional work. I know year after year, you and your staff always will come early as far as present the numbers, and it makes their job easier, and as they mentioned, a month early presenting their audit. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 3, approval of property tax refunds for the month of November 2019.
Good afternoon, board members, Mr. Santos, members of the audience. For the record, I'm Elizabeth Garza, tax manager, and will be presenting the tax refunds. We bring to you the approval of tax refunds for the month of November 2019 for Magdalena Santos Ramirez, an overpayment in the amount of $1,672.50 with no loss of revenue to the district. Have any questions?
No question, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4, approval of an order authorizing the issuance of United Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Taxable Service 2020, entering into an escrow agreement, a bond purchase agreement, and a paying agent registrar agreement, delegating to certain district administrative staff and officials the authority to approve all final terms of the bonds and other matters related thereto.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Molina, Mr. Vélez, Mr. Santos, and members of the audience. We are bringing that opportunity. The interest rates have continued to fall based on the whole market area and the trade wars and et cetera, right? So our firm, our financial advisor, Robert Tijerina, is here, and he's going to be making a quick presentation to actually show you, because what was in your book was the actual order, but he's going to show you some specific numbers of where they've identified where we can refinance some of our debt to save our taxpayers money in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Benavides. For the record, Robert Tijerina with Tijerina, Gabal, and Lawrence, the district's financial advisor. And good afternoon, board members of the board, Mr. Santos, staff, and the audience. I had a handout earlier, and if you turn to page 3, again, this is a presentation of unlimited tax refunding bonds, taxable, Series 2020 financing. And on page 3, the refunding analysis, it's pretty much a refinancing, as Ms. Benavides stated. We're looking to lower the interest rate on our debt, which is going to lower the payment on our bonds. It's kind of the same thing when we go out there and refinance on mortgage. You know, you lower the rate, you lower the monthly payments, and here it's the same thing. Identical. And what the board and what the district has done, Mr. Santos and his staff, is gone out there over the years and refinanced 8 financing, including the one we recently did, where we refinanced the 2008 PPFCOs about $4 million and saved over $350,000 on the 2008 PPFCOs. And again, out of the total 8 financings, you refinanced about $216 million of your debt. The majority of that, about 98% of that, is the unlimited tax school building bonds debt, which is the debt that the voters approved. So on page 3, the overall savings, annual savings, is about $653,000 a year. We're looking to refinance 4 financings, about $3.4 million of the 2011 financing. This is on the left side of page 3, about 23.5 of the 2012 financing, 10.8 of the 2013, and the bulk of the refinancing, about 75.6 million of the 2004 financing. The goal on refinancing is to lower the interest rate. All that debt combined on those 4 financings, the interest rate on those bonds is about 4.952%. If we were to go in the market about a week ago, we would go from 4.95% to 2.853%. Again, the goal is to lower the interest rate, and we lower the bonds' annual payments. And if you notice on the right-hand side of the page, the overall shaded area savings column, we're looking to refinance again about $113 million with all 4 financings combined, and save overall, as Mr. Santos stated earlier, about $15.6 million overall from 2020 to 2044. And again, what you're trying to do in a refinancing, lower the bond payment. So instead of having overall this current fiscal year about 42.4, our next fiscal year about $42 million of debt outstanding of a payment, principal and interest, we lower it by about $655,000. To go from $42 million, drop that down to close to about 41.4. So again, lower the debt, and lower the annual payment by lowering the interest rate. If you turn to page 4, these are the 4 financings on page 4 that we're going to refinance: the Series 2011, 12, 13, and 2014. The combined principal amount is $113.4 million. The legal documents that you have in front of you, this is encompassing all the debt that is eligible to refinance if rates are low. A few months ago, we identified the refunding back in July when rates were higher, and the financing was about $40 million. As rates have been dropping over the last few months, it's gone from refinancing $40 million to what you see right now, refinancing $113.4 million. So we're hoping that interest rates maintain, and we're able to price this here in the next few months. So if you turn to page 5, the preliminary timetable of events, the business committee meeting we are here at today will present this information. I'll be provided to the board as a whole on December the 18th. If the board approves this next week, we'll have a rating conference call January the 21st. This gives your staff, Ms. Benavides, Mr. Flores, time enough to wrap up the audit, complete it, get it ready for the conference calls on January 21st with the rating companies. Everything goes well there. We'll price the bonds on February the 11th, close the financing on March the 11th. And again, the legal documents are providing, encompassing all the bonds that you have that are eligible to refinance on 113.4. We're hoping the rates maintain where they're at right now. And so we're able to get that done. We'll complete the financing and close on March the 11th. If you turn to page 6, the financing team, we have the school district, the issuer, United Independent School District Financial Advisor, co-bond counsel Winstead and Juan Cruz and Associates. Senior underwriter is Siebert, Williams, Shank and Company. That has recently went through a name change. It was Siebert, Shanks, and Cisneros. Mr. Cisneros is still part of the firm, but they changed the name up front. The co-underwriters are FHN, which is First Horizon Financial Capital Markets, Hilltop Securities, and the last one, Oppenheimer and Company, Underwriters Council, McCall Parkhurst, and the paying agent registrar, Wells Fargo. We have discussed the financing team with Ms. Benavides and Mr. Flores yesterday, providing it for full disclosure today. I know it's a lot of information, but this financing, you've done 8 others before refinancing. We're not looking to increase the overall debt of the school district. We're not adding more interest. We're keeping the structure the same. We're not extending the debt, or we're not shortening up, and we're not increasing the interest rate. Again, lower the interest rate, lower the annual payments. I know it's a lot of information, but even the board members or staff have any questions?
I know the timeline that you put there is, I know anticipating the rates moving up or down. Is this the quickest that we can come to market as far as?
We could move a little faster, and that's a good question, sir. We know today the Federal Reserve System, FOMC, they're meeting, the committee are meeting today and tomorrow. We don't think there's going to be an interest rate cut this week. We think interest rates are going to maintain. Between now and their next meeting at the end of January, if we feel, we'll be staying in contact with Mr. Santos and the staff, if we feel that there's any pressure that rates could be going back up, we'll speed this up and try to price this before February the 11th that we have here indicated. So we have some flexibility to move this up and price sooner.
That February 11th date that you have there is pretty much locking up the rates at that point? Or?
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
a good question. When we price the bonds, as you have all your other debt, your refinancing debt, the bonds that we sold this summer, when you price the bonds, the interest rates are fixed, they're locked, they're set in stone.
Okay.
Pending board approval or pending board signature.
Right, okay.
And they're set for the life of the bonds, absolutely.
Understand.
So we feel that interest rate, the market is, Ms. Benavides stated earlier, there's a lot of volatility going on. What we're currently going through up in Washington with the president, the impeachment hearings,
Right.
having an impact on the market. The tariffs with China is having an impact on the market. There's a lot of things outside of our control. So we feel that the market rates are being driven up, which means rates go up, our savings goes down. We're not going to be expecting as much as 15 million. It drops, rates go up. So if rates continue to drop down, more savings for the district.
Right.
Rates go up, less. But we'll be ready to go, and we'll keep Mr. Santos and staff informed along the way.
Thank you. It looks like it's, will be some good savings for the district over the life of the bond, so hopefully we're able to move and get those good rates that you've identified and proceed with it.
And I appreciate it. And Mr. Santos has always been informed along with the staff of making sure that there's refinancings and savings opportunity for the district. I'd like to wish the board members, everyone, and staff, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Likewise.
Thank you.
Item 5, approval of awarding bids, proposals, and qualifications.
Good evening, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's been a long day. Good afternoon. We have 2 RFPs for your consideration. RFP 040-2019, network equipment and data cabling for 8800 McPherson. We're recommending to the following vendors: Section 1, cabling to M1 Networks for the amount listed. Section 2, networking to Solid IT for the amount listed. Section 3, streaming video to NetSync. Section 4, the telephones to Insight Public Sector. And Section 5, paging to Insight Public Sector as well. We also have RFP 042-2019, building maintenance alterations and repairs district-wide. This is like for our maintenance department, to the vendors listed.
Mr. Vélez, the RFP 040-2019 was presented to the Bond Oversight Committee last night, and they unanimously approved moving it forward to the board.
All right.
It is
Thank you.
also recommending to use bond interest
No, not
funds
that
to
one.
pay for this.
This one.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not that
Now,
one,
this is a regular bond proceeds project. The next one will be
bond interest.
bond interest.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Item 6, approval of JOC 015-2019 at 8800 McPherson Road, middle school renovations.
Okay, this project we're recommending to pay with bond interest funds. The recommended vendor is American Contracting and Roofing. The total cost of the project is $612,000, but it includes a $50,000 contingency that's for district use only. So if we do not utilize it, then the cost of the project.
What middle school is that?
This is for 8800 McPherson, which is going to be Herrera Middle School.
Okay.
And Mr. Alanis is here to go over the scope of the project.
The project, okay. Quick question, just to clarify, the 612,000, I know you mentioned it's from bond, but it is something that hadn't been initially set as an expense, right? That's why it was taken before the bond.
That's
advisory
correct.
committee. Okay. All right. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Vélez, Mr. Molina. Yes, as part of the scope of this project, we're looking to do some upgrades in several buildings, starting with Building C, which is the science wing at the 8800 McPherson campus, which is the Elias Herrera Middle School. Some of the items are to clean, prep, and paint the walls throughout the classrooms, to demolish the existing VCT and replace the new VCT in the entire building, remove existing VCT and install ceramic flooring in the SLC restrooms. Okay. To fill in concrete floor where lab table connections were removed in several areas within the SLC rooms. Those are some of the upgrades to be done in that building. In the gymnasium, it's to paint interior walls in the gym building, walls, locker rooms, coaches' offices, classrooms, etc. To clean and prep the paint locker room concrete floors as well, the locker room hallway floors, the weight room floors, and storage room floors. To remove concrete base from boys' locker rooms and patch level areas and paint. In the administration building, it's to paint walls and doors in the administrative office areas, strip the old paint to the original surface before applying new paint to the walls, and remove type boards and marker boards and replace with new. Okay. We have also the kitchen restroom to refurnish the entire room and prepare prime and paint interior walls within the main kitchen areas and kitchen storage rooms. Some of the exterior building scope of work is to clean and paint exterior walkways, arches, and all exterior benches, paint the courtyard, retaining walls and ramps and rails, and saw cut, remove, and replace concrete sidewalks where required. Now, the parking lot as well will be sealed and striped, and it includes the curbs and parking medians to be painted. And in the 3 buildings, A, B, and C, we're to provide and install mini blinds for all windows. So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, some of the upgrades that are being considered for this project.
So it's basically throughout the campus?
Throughout the whole campus.
Right.
Yes, sir.
What type of time frame are we talking as far as duration for project? Is it going to, something that's going to be several months long?
Yes, this is actually to prepare it for the 2020, 2021 school year.
Okay.
The summer, they're gonna,
The contingency allowance, I know it's stated as for district use. How would that be used if we get to use the contingency? Is it something that we're only using as far as the district and not the?
If there's a request to use any of that contingency allowance, we have to approve it first.
Okay.
So if the company says, well, you know, we found this and it wasn't in the initial scope of work, we will review that request, and only the district can approve use of that contingency.
Understand. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Alanis.
Thank you.
Item 7, approve change order number 5 for Line Deck Construction of Texas Incorporated for JOC 002-2019 building renovations and updates at 8800 McPherson Road, future Elias Herrera Middle School.
Yes. The following items to be presented by project architect Guillermo Cavazos are additional upgrades to the present renovations ongoing at the Elias Herrera Middle School campus. Cavazos.
Hello, good afternoon. Memo Cavazos with Cavazos Architects. Hello, Mr. Vélez, Mr. Molina, and Mr. Santos. Feel free to ask me any questions about this. I'll kind of just briefly give you a summary of the extent of this change order. There's 3 rooms that are going to be converted into art labs, and those are going to receive millwork, which is basically cabinets, drawers, countertops, sinks, that will match what you currently have at Perales Middle School, the new middle school on 359. There's some millwork in the administration area for the attendance office and the counselor's office. A good portion of this money is spent on restrooms for the students in the existing cafetorium, which is also shares the same building with the administration area. So it's kind of like the main restrooms for the campus, and that includes new plumbing and new finishes. And finally, there's some countertops in 3 classrooms that are going to be used for computers.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want me to expand on anything, but yes.
Right. Let me touch real quick. The original amount was 420,000. Is that accurate, right? And where the proposed change orders in the amount of 119,000?
Yes, sir. There was one previous one for 14,000 roughly, and this will this is an additional 119.
Okay.
So
why the change or the addition of the art classrooms? What brought the change as far as to the original design or to the upgrades, and that you have to be here today asking for the change order amount? Is it something from the district that we requested additional?
Yes.
Rooms? Okay.
Yes, it was requested, and so we provided the drawings and got a price from the contractor to do said work, and that was what we came up with.
I think what happens, Mr. Ellis, I think the more that we look at that building to be able to meet the needs of the middle school, you know, the art labs that were there were really, I mean, that building was built in 83.
Right.
Yes.
So there was a lot of updates that we had to do there to be able to, you know, just to equal what we have at Perales. And the more that we look at that building, the more we have to invest to get ready for our kids. But that's the reason on that one, sir.
Okay. I think more to the district, to Mr. Santos. The 119,000, where are we going to be tapping that money to? What fund? General fund or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. No more. Do you have any questions? More? All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8, approval request from board members in reference to use of Board of Trustees discretionary funds for various projects and campuses.
Mr. Velez and Mr. Molina, we have two additional requests I'd like to read into the minutes.
Sir?
We have a request from Alexander High School, Principal Ernesto Sandoval Jr., sponsored by Mr. Javier Montemayor, is to rent a bus for the NCAA competition for the cheerleaders in the amount of $2,500. And we have a request from Zaffarini Elementary School, Claudia Benavides Principal, sponsored by Mr. Rick Rodriguez and Mr. Ramiro Vélez, for $2,000 each to be used for staff and student incentives.
Thank you, Mr. Sonino.
Thank you.
Item 9, first reading of policy update,
We did both, number 9, number 10, with the,
instructional?
yes, sir. I don't know if you want for us to go over them.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Was it 10 as well, or only 9? 9 and 10?
Both 9 and 10, sir.
9 and 10 work, okay.
And on number 10 is a calendar, and it looks like the campuses are going to recommend option 1.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, so we'll move on to item B, informational items, the monthly financial report.
We're bringing to you our monthly financial report as of November 30th, and there you'll see our cash investment balance of $204.8 million. The yields right now are about 1.8%. Rates have been going down. And the administrative cost ratio, which you saw earlier, that's part of our first indicators, actual to date is 8.34%. So we're within the 11.05% that's allowed by TEA. Our unaudited statement shows that our revenues are at $101.8 million, or 25% of our budget amount. Last year at this time, we were at 31%. And our expenditures are at $139 million, or 32%, and last year around this time, we were about 32% as well. Our collection report from the tax office shows we're at 13.02%. We sent the statements out in September, and the collections are starting to come in. We've collected over $29.5 million from the current collection and $2.2 million from the delinquent collection rate, yes. And to date, we're at 19.65, and delinquent is at 42.52%. And you can compare the rates to the same time last year. Purchasing report, there's all the bids and proposals awarded through November 30th. And the grants report section has all the activity that's been going on in the grants department this past month.
Okay,
And that's it for now.
thank you, ma'am. Item 2, budget calendar for 2020, 2021.
We're required to create a timeline to get to our budget calendar, so it goes hand in hand with Ms. Rendon's school calendar, when we're going to start, when we're going to start bringing staff in. But you'll see here, we've laid out a calendar for the board to follow. Pretty much the highlighted dates are business committee dates, so if there's something that I need to bring to you as an update, I would bring it to you through the business committee. This year, there is no legislative session going on, so we know the rules now of the revenue game. And we feel this is a very well laid out calendar to get us to next August, where we would probably, and next summer, where we would do some workshops with the board and have our public hearing, publish our tax rate, and hopefully bring a balanced budget to the board next August.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Item 3, review of legal policies and TASB update 114.
That was also reviewed with the instruction. And basically, all that is, it's the legal policies that the state changed. So that'll be current law, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to adjournments, 1:09 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you.